Hi guys, and welcome to this very special YouTube special with my two new girlfriends, Kat and Ash from Forêt. I actually met them through like an odd way. Basically, I was looking to heal my gut, and we'll get into my story in a little bit, but I definitely want them to introduce themselves. But I was looking to heal my gut. I went on Amazon to purchase a product to help myself, get back on track, help my GI, and it ended up leading into writing a review for these two wonderful ladies who've helped me a lot with the product that they came out with. And so I just want to introduce them. This is Kat and Ash.
Hey everybody.
Hi.
Hey. Saying hello from Venice, California.
So they're
We're
coming.
so happy to be here. We're so happy to talk to you about all of this.
I'm so thrilled to have you both. So kind of tell a little bit about yourselves, like where are you originally from? How do you like living in Venice?
How do you want to start? I'll start. I'm from San Diego. I grew up in Southern California, so I'm San Diego through and through. I grew up in a family that was really health conscious and super active, and San Diego is also the environment of that. So that's just been something that's been kind of a norm for me. And then I had some things happen in my 20s that kept pushing me further and further into health. And I ended up going to school for nutritional psychology when I was like in my later 20s, and that really flipped everything for me. I always had gut issues. That's like kind of where I held my stress and my emotional everything, unbeknownst to me at the time. And and so I'm really into writing. I'm really into health. I'm really into self-love and everything that goes around that. And to me, that's like self-care and really taking care of your body in a way that makes it so you can show up for yourself in life. And what else? I'm super enthusiastic in general about connection. That's like one of my favorite topics, and just like feeling really alive. So I'm really big into rituals that make you feel alive, and that's kind of plays a little bit into our product.
Okay, wait. So what's the number one ritual that you have? Just curious.
Number one, I think like paramount probably is hydration and sleep. If I had to say like a top, hydration, sleep. I'm really big into intermittent fasting, and then a diet that supports gut health. Because I've noticed that for me, it's massive. It regulates dopamine and serotonin. And so just having mental clarity during the day and energy is like my biggest thing. Because like when I'm showing up and actually feeling energy, and I've had many times in my life where we'll probably end up going into it, but like the health challenges I had in my 20s really impeded my energy. So I don't take it for granted at all. The moments that I have like a little bit of energy or more energy, I know that you can probably relate to that, where, you were really, really low at certain times. So yeah, mine is like hydration, I think is massive, and sleep, which I need to work on because I get like a second kick at night at like the worst time. I'm like super vampiric in that way. And then, which is like a joke with friends. It's like all of a sudden 11 o'clock and I'm like, yay, let's do more fun things tonight. But yeah, and then so sleep and hydration and eating really well, especially so that like your body's in a flow state, and doing things that really give you joy. That's like, those are my top rituals. I actually have a ritual list in my kitchen, and I check it every day.
So cute. I love that. Is it like
I have to have like a green meal. That's another thing. I always have a green meal. We're having a little green drinks right now. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So what about you, Kat? What's your story?
Sure. So I'm born and raised LA, actually. And at one point we traded places. Like Ashley moved back to LA and I moved to San Diego. But really like my whole life has been centered around personal development. I've worked in personal development for like the last 10 years for, public speakers, different programs, courses. And the common thread that I kept hearing over and over again was that in order to show up as your best self, you have to start on the inside. And that comes down to health, energy, everything kind of Ashley covered, like your rituals. How much sleep are you getting? How much, are you finding a way to ground yourself, whether that's meditation or yoga or movement? And so that became very clear to me that in order to have a successful life, you had to have a successful well-being in your body. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that kind of just triggered it for me. And I got super excited I think from San Diego, we kind of realized, Ashley and I, we wanted to create something impactful together. We weren't sure what that would be, but we were willing to discover and dip our toes in a bunch of different avenues. And somehow that avenue turned into colon cleansing, because we both found this need for gut health and how impactful it was to how everything in our life would operate from that core.
Yeah, it was interesting. Everything that we started, we did started kind of walking down the line with different ideas of things that we use all the time that we love. And they were always around wellness, around taking leaps in your life in terms of career. Like, we're really, really big on that, like living in a way that's really authentic and true to you. And then things around like relationships. So if you really boil all that down, it's usually just relationship with self. And how can you show up with the most profound, impactful, like strong, incredible relationship with yourself? And then that kind of bleeds out. And like that usually is used, like whatever you do daily either makes you feel more amazing or kills you. So it's like, do you want to dim your light, or do you want to? So that's kind of been always our thing. And we both kind of created separate things off of that. Mine are more in the realm of relationships and love, and hers has been more in like careers and magic and leaping. And then we're kind of meet in the middle where it's like self-love and wellness.
That is beautiful. So it's a little bit of like yin and yang, like it's a little bit of like self-love and go get them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we're just like super side note, but we're literally, we call each other soul sisters, but this is my sister-in-law. She's with my brother and she's been with him for over a decade. So we've been really close friends for a long time. So we're lucky in that way.
Now, did you guys meet before she met your brother?
No, surprisingly not. No.
Yeah. I'll never forget the first time I met Ashley was on the phone. I was just about to graduate from college and I was feeling super anxious and nervous to leave all my best friends and like to move back home. And I had no idea what I wanted to do, the next steps. I knew whatever I majored in was not going to be the path that I was taking. And at the time, Jameson, that's the brother, he's like, you need to talk to my sister. She is so good with this. And I talked to Ashley for the first time. I feel like we talked for over an hour.
Oh, yeah.
And I just felt so held. And I left that conversation feeling so much more positive and so much more uplifted.
Yeah, it was like the groundwork for a really incredible, soulful relationship. It kind of started off on a vulnerable note, and it just like hasn't left there. We're really, really honest and true, and that's so nice. Anyway, yeah, we got lucky. We got super lucky.
That's so amazing. Well, I'm so glad you two met each other because you created such a great business out of this. And today we're going to be talking about what else but health.
Yes. Yeah. Everything's Tish. Let's go.
Tishy topics.
All the taboo topics.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking about, number 2. We're going to be talking about, all of that because it's so important. And I think, both of you are beautiful women. And I think that it's important. And we kind of want to break that taboo around the bathroom talk because, a lot of times there's so many people out there who are like, girls don't poop or girls poop glitter. You know what I mean? We're really here today to kind of break that stigma and talk more in depth about, not being shy to talk about, your health when it comes to, mental health ties in with your GI health and it all ties in together.
100%.
It actually is like the biggest indicator of mental health, which is, it's wild. Like so many things really just, you're right. That's it.
So I'll tell a little bit about my story, like with what had happened to me and why I seeked to find, I was going to originally just do colon hydrotherapy, but I really needed something at home. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that your product literally saved my life. It saved my butt because I was dealing with such chronic. And I actually just posted my before and after photos of even just my eyes and how inflamed they were. I was having major, have you guys seen that video called Brain on Fire? It was like about a girl.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible. Like if you watch that video, that was like what I was going through. So it was literally not only was my body failing and my organs were shutting down and everything like that. My body was giving up on me, but my mind was going too. And as someone who has run her own business, I had to stop my businesses. I was basically bedridden and I was going through such a time where I just felt like hopeless. And there was really not a lot of information out there that was helpful. And, you know, with my background, thank God I had a background in health science, but I started seeking, you know, a more holistic route. And I started really digging into GI. And I had done colon hydrotherapy in the past. And so I was like, this is the route I want to go. I want to start doing colonics more often, but ended up buying an enema kit from these two beautiful ladies, Foret Cleanse, you guys. So if you want, follow them on Instagram, highly recommend it. Follow them everywhere. Buy their packet off Amazon. I have it on my website. But I started with doing coffee enemas, and then I started switching to doing just water enemas and just really flushing every single day, flushing. And I noticed that every time I had extreme anxiety, I had severe panic disorder where I would be walking to my car and all of a sudden the world would start shifting and I would have vertigo and I couldn't think, and I would go into paralysis where I couldn't remember how to even like lift my arm, and that's how bad it was. And so I started to notice when I had these panic attacks come on, I would do a enema and they would subside. And I started doing more research into that, and there's a whole science that goes in behind it. But basically you're going in and you're flushing out the stuff that's sitting in the GI tract that's highly toxic or highly acidic or just needs to get moved out. And when you're doing a detox, which I was doing, but you're not moving that stuff, it's being reabsorbed, called a retox. And so when you're retoxing, you can go through depression, anxiety, you can have symptoms come back even stronger, and it affects the brain because it's all being absorbed back into your body. And where does it go? The fattiest organ, which is your brain. So I don't want to go too deep into that, but we'll talk.
We don't usually flush like fast enough. So you're absolutely right. Like a lot of us do these cleanses, but we're not actually flushing out fast enough. So it's like getting recirculated in our blood. That's exactly it.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about that. Like the colon is one of the biggest eliminative organs. So, I mean, I hear people who are like, I poop once to twice a day, so I poop enough. Like I'm fine. I don't need to do an enema. What's your take on that?
Well, you know what? I heard a really great analogy the other day, and I feel like this ties right in. And the analogy is essentially, when you build a brand new house and you build the piping 20, 30 years out, you don't expect those pipes to be perfectly clear of any residue of anything like plaque or molding. And that's essentially what happens with our intestines. You know, by the time we reach adult age, there's a lot of like shit, literally, stuck to our colon walls that haven't been properly digested, haven't been eliminated. And after time, as that continues to build and build, our body's unable to do what it typically needs to do, what the colon needs to do, which is absorb nutrients. So we're eating and eating more, but not getting the nutrients that we're actually needing from those foods that we're trying to digest because our body's, you know, clogged up.
Which is like impacting your metabolism and all the things. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's very simple. It's like a drain. Our drains work just fine. But yeah, like 20, 30 years later, you look at the drain and it's, or, you know, even like 3 years later and it clogs, even though it's been working seemingly fine every single day. So it's just the idea that automatically, I mean, very few of us drink as much water as we should. It's actually crazy how much, like, I mean, I could go into like the whole hydration thing, but how much we probably would eliminate if we were hydrated to the extent that we should be. And that would help get rid of the impacted fecal matter. But the average body has about 5 to 20 pounds, depending on the size of the body, when they're doing autopsies of fecal matter impacted in the intestines.
So basically, if you want to lose weight quickly, this is a good solution.
Automatically. It's, I mean, that in and of itself. And then then that can kind of go into a lot of people being like, well, then like, does that undermine my ability to go to the bathroom naturally if I'm doing it all the time? Which is like one of my favorite subjects, which is peristalsis. And you've like, there's muscles in there that are working, and they're like any other muscle. So if you're flexing it, then it's going to become a stronger muscle. And that's what's so awesome with enemas is that like a lot of people actually are doing peristalsis restoration, and they do that using enemas or using like glycerin laxatives. But what it does is like with an enema, you're purposely holding liquid in there, which is like the equivalent to like flexing something and making sure it's tight for a little bit and then releasing. So it kind of actually helps keep a control over your intestines. So like if people are having issues with going to the bathroom too easily, or not going to the bathroom easily enough, or after childbirth, that's like used a lot. So it actually helps peristalsis, which is this irony. There's people that are really, really, really chronically backed up with IBS or IBD or leaky gut syndrome. And I have one friend who's a doctor that helps with gut restoration for people. And she has people do an enema or a glycerin tab at the exact time every day. So that way the body's on like a circadian, because the body loves rhythm. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing that we always suggest that people do, if possible, to try to do it at the same time.
What is a glycerin tab? I actually have not heard of that before.
Glycerin is just like, it's like a laxative.
Mm-hmm.
It's like putting
a suppository that you put up your tush.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually, we thought about those in the past, just of something like healthier compared to the things that are on the market. Something that actually is like, something that's
like
not
coconut
oil, like something that's just healthier, but we haven't really seen it out there.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool. So basically,
I love the idea of just water. Like that's just the cleanest possible thing, you know?
It really is. And we want to use filtered, purified water, guys. Don't be using the tap water with all the bacteria and crazy stuff in it. Like, please filter your water. Basically, this is like a Kegel for your butt, right? Like, it's just
exactly.
Yeah,
it is.
That's exactly it. Actually, I mean, I just was reading an article about this yesterday. It's exactly how they said it.
I did have an analogy for I totally thought of this when you were talking about it, for the enemas. It's kind of like I have a shower up here that I shower in, and this house has been owned by a couple people. So of course, you know, your hair comes out and whatnot in the showers, and it starts to get into the shower drain. So that's like the food we eat. You know, we go out for Taco Bell when we're 13, and you know, that kind of packs in on the side of the wall, and then we go to a birthday dinner and that packs in and it starts to pack in, and before you know it starts backing up. And that actually happened this last summer. Was my shower kept backing up and it was gross. I was like standing in the shower and there was just like, it was like filling up, and it was slowly drain. And that's what a lot of people are doing, is they're slowly draining. They're pooping once a day or whatever it may be, but it's a slow drain for their toxins.
Exactly.
I mean, most people are constipated and they don't even realize it. You know, before I was doing enemas, I thought going in the bathroom every other day or every 3 days was normal. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, whoa, the difference your body feels when you're on a natural peristalsis. You go every day, you feel so much more energy. You're not lethargic. You're not sluggish. Your brain is clear. It's night and day.
And it's the difference too of like cleaning up the top of the colon. Like there's the lower colon, top of the colon. That's where a lot of stuff gets impacted, and that's where like that's the first entryway into the colon where the nutrients would start to get assimilated. So you have more chance to have more nutrients assimilated. Mm-hmm. I had a dear friend that did a water fast in Hawaii for a bit, and I think they were going to the bathroom till like day 3. And they're a guy, and they're a guy that's like super healthy. He goes to the bathroom all the time. He's like he'd be the first one that would say exactly what you were saying earlier. Like, oh, I already go to the bathroom. I don't need it. So he goes to the bathroom like a few times a day, probably after every meal, like some very lucky person. And he did this water fast for 7 days, went to the bathroom till the 3rd day, and then didn't go to the bathroom. And on the 7th or 6th or 7th day, all of this like black, he said almost tar came out of he evacuated that. And that's what's said to be like what's really at the top of the colon. If it's been there, you know, when you were just saying Taco Bell when you're a little kid, it's just things that have been there for so long that like we're surprised that get impacted in there. Mm-hmm. And you don't always feel it because you do go to the bathroom like regularly-ish, you know, if you're a lucky person. I definitely had an issue with that for a long time because of like holding stress and anxiety and a bunch of things there. And then that started perpetuating more stress and anxiety and melancholy and all these, and lack of clarity and energy. And yeah, it's cleaning that whole top area. So it's like, the surprising thing is that you end up being like, oh, I mean, I have a good guy friend who did it. He tried the Forêt one because he's like, I usually go to the bathroom twice in the morning. I was like, twice? That's amazing. Like before 9 a.m., that's incredible. Mm-hmm. So he's like, oh yeah. And I want to try it right after that and see if anything comes out. And he had like, it was like a holy grail moment. He couldn't believe it. He was like, I can't believe that. I can't believe what was still there. And so our bodies are like they're an interesting, we just don't know as much about this. And there's a reason that is a big interesting fact, but 74 to 80% of Americans have digestive gut issues. And because it's such a taboo subject, we don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. And it's not sexy, but we're trying to make it sexy with like our Instagram page.
I think you did a good job.
Because it's like, I mean, you want to, I mean, ultimately what it leads to is feeling really sexy and good in your body, which is the goal for all of us to like really show up and be alive here.
Mm-hmm.
So I like literally had the flattest stomach ever after doing like my first couple enemas. Everyone's like, did you, like, what happened? And I'm like literally lost. I'm down to like my lowest weight since I competed, which is crazy. But people are like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm not working out. I'm not killing myself. I still haven't gone back to the gym to work out. I'm just literally eating better foods and I'm doing enemas. And that's like my big secret, like, ta-da, like that's really
so much is like rest. It's like something that just helps your body rest. I mean, like such a high percentage of the body's energy goes into digestion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're eating really well and you're not blocked up, then your body can like do all the other things to break down the fat cells and to actually like, and it's just like, it's holistic. Everything works together in that way. And if you're supporting it, then you don't have to kill yourself to work out, and you don't have to, and you end up not really wanting to eat the other things because your taste buds change, and it all plays into each other.
It really does. It's all like a beautiful big puzzle piece. Like each piece is, you know, for the bigger picture. I did want to ask, so with the enemas, what's the best way to get the water up as far as possible?
Do you want to try? You want me to try?
Well, I would say one of what a lot of Gerson therapy recommends is a colonic catheter. So there are a lot of different enema tips you'll see out there. They're like the short, kind of stockier ones that are shaped like a skinny V.
Like a little cone.
Yeah, they're like the irrigators. They kind of have like these like 4 prongs around them. A lot of them are plastic, and what we wanted was something closer to what Gerson recommended, which was the rubber catheter. But we didn't want to put rubber up our tush. And so we designed an all medical grade silicone catheter. What's great because it's super skinny. So it's thinner, it's easier to insert, super comfortable, and then you can put it up higher into the colon to get that deeper colonic irrigation.
And I think it's also doing it a few times over. So if you went to actually get colonic irrigation, or a colonic is what another just simple way of saying it. The average colonic is about 15 gallons in the US. I remember doing it at the sanctuary resort thing in Thailand, and they did 5 gallons. So every 1 gallon of water is about 3.7 liters. So it's kind of like doing 1 Foret is 1 gallon. So, I mean, you're doing like twice as much if you're doing a lot if you're doing a colonic. You're doing many Foret sessions. So I think that ultimately what gets up there is just like if you were to do maybe 2 or 3 or whatever in a row, just slowly but surely you're going to clear like if there's a drain like this and there's stuff up here, it's just you're going to slowly, clearly, you know.
You'll get higher in there.
Inch by inch, yeah. It's less about like getting something far in there, which is helpful, but ultimately it's just like having enough water in there long enough that if you have like a really dirty pan at the sink, you want the water to soak long enough so that it can actually like get the impacted, crusty, toxic fecal matter out. So it's really just about how much water.
Routine. So I always do like 1 regular water, and I always do like warm water. And what I do is I lay down and I massage my stomach a little bit, and then I get up and I do jumping jacks. It's like my little morning workout, but I do jumping jacks with water in, and I feel it like kind of, you know, like
that's actually really smart.
That's super good. I actually tried something I learned about enemas years ago. A friend of ours got super into it, and he got into it in the sense where he started actually seeing parasites get eliminated in his evacuations. But he told me once that when he would do enemas, he'd do headstands.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And so I tried that once. I mean, I tried it yesterday, and it was amazing. I don't know if I'll do it all the time, but it was pretty fun.
I think it's also just lifting your tush in the air. Like they say that just different positions. Like sometimes people put their legs up against the wall. You know, it's like it would just be normal gravity type things just to get it further up there. But I also think moving around big time, like just movement period in the morning helps a movement. Yeah. So if you have a movement plus an enema, then you're going to have a double whammy, and it's going to be much better. And then obviously a silicone tip. I mean, we offer more than 1 tip, but our silicone long, ultra thin slimline tip is it's been known as every single fancy car. Yeah. For some reason, we think it's the most adorable thing. We absolutely love it. But we've had so many sweet reviewers that are like kind of part of our Foret family that are like, this is the Maserati of Enema tips.
The Bentley,
the Tesla, the Porsche. And we're like, this is pretty awesome. I don't know what this is, but we think it's so cute. So it really is. It's like our favorite tip. And it's medical grade silicone, which is the only thing on the market. And we actually have the only tip on the market that has no allergens. So some people have allergens to stainless steel. Some people have because it has nickel in it. Yeah. Nickel allergies are really, really common. Even though I love the idea of stainless steel, it's also just like not easy, not comfortable. And a lot of times people have issues with getting backed up when they travel. So that's why we're really big on a bag versus something big, like a.
I'm actually going to see if I have that tip. If you guys want to keep talking, it might be in my room so that people can see what the tip looks like. I have not used it yet, so I'm actually excited to try the Maserati out.
Yeah. It's my favorite one. It's also, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about it. The other reason that actually I love it is the idea that so many people, including myself, I was so nervous to do an enema initially. My best guy friend and his girlfriend at the time, his girlfriend was really into it. It helped her with restoring. She had like yeast infections. She was having chronic yeast infections and a lot of issues with digestion and all that. And was really specific about her diet. So she got into it and she actually got her boyfriend into it. It was my best friend. I went and bought the same thing that they had. I had it sit there for 2 years. I was too nervous to use it. I was like, it felt like a lot. It felt like this process to use an enema. Yeah. I was just nervous. And so when I finally did it, I was like, oh my God, that was the most easy thing. I don't know why I made such a big deal about it. I don't know why I was so scared about that. And I was like, how could that be better, like of an experience? And I was like, I love the idea of having a tip that you don't even know is there.
Yeah. You don't, like, it feels like seamless to just insert. You don't feel it really.
Especially if you've had hemorrhoids or like things like.
That's a big thing. We've had a couple people write us or leave a review and say, like, this has been a lifesaver. I've had hemorrhoids, so most tips are very irritating to insert.
Super irritating.
And so this has been really comfortable, super soft. It's like really tiny and thin. A lot of tips I've seen out there are a little bigger.
It's the thinnest and softest thing that exists. So it's like a huge, and it's the only thing that doesn't have an allergen. So if you're somebody like us who's really big into putting things in your body that are pure as possible, this is like the most pure thing you can possibly get.
You guys ready to see it?
Yeah.
Ready? Bam. So this is actually the packaging it comes in. How cute is this? It's like a little backpack. And this was the first thing I noticed was how cute everything was when I got it. I was like, this is adorable. Like, I knew it was designed by some soul sisters because I was like, this is so cute. Yeah.
Classy design.
It's classy, it's sexy. It almost looks like a club. Like I used to work for a late night club. This kind of looks like a, nightclub promotion bag. But inside here we have, this is it has not been used, you guys. I've not put this in my butt yet. But this is the right tip that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Okay, let me pull this out so the viewers can see. And you guys, there's no reason to be scared. Like you were saying, there's really no reason to be scared to do your first enema. I know a lot of people are so nervous. Like I get so many messages like, oh my God, I'm doing my first enema. This is very soft.
It's super soft. Yeah. And after your first one, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was ever scared about that. Like so many things in life that many of us have been scared of. Once you finally do it, you're like, I can't believe I was so scared about that. And you end up feeling amazing.
The best tip I can share for this tip and all tips in general, use a little lube, whether that's coconut oil or organic olive oil. It'll make it go right in.
Coconut oil, everything.
Yes. I use the skinny coconut oil. I actually know the owners. I did an interview with them, like I think it was last year or 2 years ago. Theirs is never heated and it's all natural, but I just put a little bit on there and literally it slides right in. Like it's so simple. It's so easy. I always take a deep breath. If you're nervous, if this is your first time, take a deep breath in and then just on the exhale, put it in. And it's so simple, so easy. You guys make it great because you have the little control knob right there. So if you want, you can go a little quicker. You can go a little slower. I love how you have the different, where you can stop the flow. Like you can make it go slower if you want. So if you're going too fast, you can kind of bring it back. But like literally, you guys, it's so comfortable. It's so easy to do. Like, there's no reason to be scared about doing it. Just try it out. Like, my first time I couldn't hold the water. I literally like had to run to the bathroom. But like you said, it's like Kegels. Like over time, like you put it in for the first time, it's gonna fall out. But over time, your muscles get stronger and stronger. It's like a yoga practice. Like when you first start going, you look around and you're like, how is everyone doing headstands? And I'm like, literally can't even bend over and touch my toes. After you're going for a while, you get better at it. So I think like with this, it's the same thing. You got to be easy with your body, gentle, loving with your body, lots of self-love, self-care. Maybe say some affirmations when you're doing it, or, you know.
That's what's so neat is you can turn it into this really beautiful self-love ritual. I mean, there's 10 billion books that I'm always trying to get through. And that could be like my one time that I listen to a podcast or I read a book. I usually light a candle, play some music that I love. Sometimes do like a honey mask on my face. It's when I hear, or like I'll get my hair. It's like this nice little spa session at home. And you end up feeling really incredible after. And it's so, the idea with that tip is that you shouldn't even necessarily feel it go in. So you've got like coconut on the tip, coconut on your tush, and you're like, is it in? And then you're good. And then you just sit on your side, which is like the easiest work possible, and chill. And yeah, think really amazing thoughts. Maybe do a Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation, one of our favorite things. And yeah, like, and just sit there and massage your tummy. It's like, it's another really great way to just feel embodied too. If you're somebody that's kind of living neck up, just to like drop in your body and actually like be embodied for a little bit of time and get in touch with all the systems that are working for you 24/7 and being your best friend, and actually friend your body back for a little bit. You know, it's like constantly our body's working for us, and we do all sorts of things to make it a little bit more difficult on our body, you know, with the food we eat, with the lifestyles we live, with the lack of sleep, with the things that we say to ourselves about our body, which are really unkind, you know. It's definitely just this awesome time to just love yourself up a lot more.
So what would you say, like, how often should people do this self-love ritual of doing the enemas?
I would say, per our research, on average about once a month, cleansing your colon is a great ritual to incorporate. Of course, there are a lot of people who are maybe undergoing a specific protocol, whether it's the Gerson therapy protocol or healing a severe sickness or ailment, and that can be as much as a day or once a week, a short period of time.
I really noticed a difference for me when I finally did it. I was like, oh my gosh, that was incredible. Man, it was hard. Like, I don't know how people hold it in for 20 minutes. Like, I had the exact same situation as you. I think that my muscles there hadn't really been working well for a bit. They'd been like asleep because I'd really had issues with like IBS and then after a bit, and I think I was really just like holding on to so much. So I actually spoke to somebody who works at Gerson, and Gerson is like a preventative and healing cancer institute. And they have this as part of their protocol. So does Hippocrates. And they have people go on it every single day when they first go on the protocol. So I was like, all right, I'm going to see what it's like. If you're treating your body in a way that's like trying to heal something really intense, what would that be like? And I did it every day for a week. And then from there, I kind of did it based on what my body was feeling. And I had like the most massive transformation, I think, after that, in terms of like mental clarity, my bloating, like stopping, which was first time in what felt like years. I felt like I was barely eating anything, and I'd all of a sudden have my stomach blow up. So it was really, really helpful to just like clear it and then get like really healthy probiotics in there. I always finished every session by putting an insert of probiotics in. So like I'd have like a little shot of water and I'd just empty a capsule of probiotics in it, put that in, and then go off on my day. And I like on my entire like gut flora, everything just changed. It was one of the most extreme changes I ever felt.
And that's usually like go ahead.
Doing that for autism and a lot of other things is they're doing probiotic therapy. So that was actually something I was going to ask you guys about, because I've been wanting to start doing the probiotics, you know, in my enemas, but I wasn't quite sure if there's like a certain ritual or how you guys go about it. So I like your idea of doing it in just a little bit of water, shooting it up and kind of leaving it for the day so that your body can really absorb it and use it. Is there a certain probiotic that you love?
I mean, my absolute favorite probiotic is BioK. But I think that and BioK is something that I drink. It's really, really strong. You can drink like half of it or a third of it and then space that out. But if I'm actually putting it in, I think jarrow, I think that's how you say it. Jarrow, yarrow, it's Jarrow. I like the ones that actually come in capsules that are supposed to circumvent the digestion. So a lot of times these probiotics don't live to the point where they can actually survive and get into your gut because of like the hydrochloric acid that's in your stomach. So a lot of these probiotics don't actually get there. And that's what's so great about putting them in as an insert. So if you get a really strong probiotic, like a really clean one like jarrow, and then just put it in a little water at the end, you're good to go.
Love it. That is such a good tip.
We have a green coffee that we're going to be coming out with too. So that one's going to be like, I think everybody's
green coffee in the butt. Like I haven't even heard of this yet. Like let's dive into this real quick.
Sure. So
yeah, it's our favorite.
Coffee enemas are hands down our favorite enemas to do. They're really powerful, impactful when it comes to detoxification. And the difference between coffee and most other enemas like water or lemon or apple cider vinegar, coffee, the palmitates in coffee help stimulate and increase the production of the body's natural glutathione.
Which is the number one like detoxifying agent in the entire body.
Yeah.
The liver produces it.
Our liver naturally produces it, but this really like takes it up to the next level. So if you want the most detoxification effects, coffee enemas are the way. And the difference too, a lot of the other enemas simply cleanse the colon, where coffee stimulates the gallbladder and liver. So then you have all these three organs really working together to release toxins, release bile, release, all the things that we hold on to that we don't want to anymore.
It's intense. And let me just touch base on that, because I know a lot of my followers are really sick. Like I have some super chronically ill people, and that was me. And so I can kind of speak to this, is that the coffee enemas do have a little bit of a Herxheimer reaction if you have not yet cleansed the GI. So you want to start first with doing maybe some probiotic ones or doing some water before you jump into coffee, because when I first jumped into coffee, I had major Herx reactions, which was great because it meant that it was stimulating and moving everything through. But if it's too much, like I would say experiment. Like if you haven't, really, if you haven't done this before and you want to go all in, go all in. But if it's too much for you, just rein back a little bit and do some water enemas before doing a coffee, or do half watered down coffee at first and just see how that works for you, and hold it for 6 minutes versus the 15.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
We created a 3-day cleanse that comes with every purchase of our Enema cleanse set.
Free.
And so the 3-day cleanse, we really walk someone through like, okay, if this is your first time doing enemas, we want you to start off with the most comfortable, easiest solution to hold in, which is typically water, or the one that we have in our book is baking soda and sea salt. Because baking soda and sea salt, when they're combined, they have a pH of about 7.3. And so it's super alkalizing in your colon. It's really relieving if you have gas, constipation.
Inflammation. That's the biggest thing too. It's like it just releases inflammation. And it's gentle. So compared gentle. To it's not like stimulating anything. It's just super gentle. So I'm big on doing that one now. I do that and then I do coffee right after it, because coffee is the stimulating thing, and it usually is more of a full release. And then the water with like baking soda.
Book on this, like I just want all the recipes. Like you should create an enema recipe book. Like I'm sure
we're releasing. We just shot a bunch of videos and then have them all being edited by our production company, and they're coming out. They should actually be out by the time this is out, so they should be out.
So
they're all going to be free.
We're just visual people ourselves, and we want something that's super easy to access on the phone. We found a lot of videos out there, like you try to learn about enemas and then it feels like, oh my God, I have to watch this for 12 minutes or 16 minutes. I just want to know how to do a coffee enema. So that was kind of our goal, like a lot of information in a compact amount of time that's easy to absorb, easy to follow along to. So we'll have that, a lot of like the most common enemas. There's a bunch out there that I'm sure people haven't heard of. And we share the benefits on each one and how to do it. What are the exact measurements? How much coffee do you put in? How much water?
Maybe we will though. We have that we have a free weekend cleanse that has a bunch of recipes in it and actually says the benefits of each one that are different from each other. But that's something that we could maybe create in the future. When I first got introduced, I was having severe digestive issues at the time. Like it was pain. So I don't know, probably similar to what you were going through. And I actually ended up kind of emergency feeling going to a colon hydrotherapist. And she introduced me to different dietary practices, and she did like a wheatgrass enema or wheatgrass colonic, garlic colonic at the time, a chlorophyll one. And it was all in these different sessions that was over a few weeks period. But the fascinating thing, like many of us deal with Candida, garlic is an incredible one for that. You'll actually feel the Candida dying off when you put it in. It's like this like warm, tingly sensation. Yeah, they're really powerful and they all do different things. But I think that the really simple one to start with is just like warm water, perhaps with a little lemon for alkalinity, or like what we say is baking soda or baking soda with some sea salt. Keep it simple. And then green coffee is great for later.
Okay, so my people, like, Candida is one of the number one things I talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, I got pretty big in the Candida community accidentally, but like so many people are struggling with Candida, and I myself dealt with extreme die-off symptoms from Candida. So I know how, you know, like just what people are going through is really intense. So
I know. And it's hard to diagnose too. So it's one of those, it's kind of like gluten intolerance, you know, or a lot of people don't have an actual gluten allergy, but their body is super inflamed from grains or from, you know, whatever it is. But I think the same thing with Candida. People don't realize like they're feeling foggy or they're chronically bloated and not able to digest things that they were always able to digest, and it's because of Candida.
So with the garlic recipe for that, is it just a clove of garlic and then boil it? Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's better, like you said this so well, but it's just going really slow at first. So if you first did it, just like one clove, and you can add a lot more water to dilute it. And if you want it to be a little stronger in the future, you could do like 2 cloves and then put that in the really warm water, and then you're good. But you actually get an incredible feeling. But it also, like, I'm always careful about it because I'm like, oh, I don't want my bag to smell like garlic. Yeah. That's always, you know, because then you just have to make sure it's just super clean afterwards. And then obviously after you do something like that, you really want to put probiotics in because it's like really fleshing everything out. And garlic is great to eat too if you're doing an anti-Candida thing for a bit.
Love it. Great advice. So what temperature should the water be, and how can people test that without putting like a thermometer in the water?
Sure. I would say the easiest way, I mean, if you have a thermometer, you want it somewhere between 97 to 101 degrees. I remember the first time I did it, I'm like, that sounds really hot. But actually, when you put your finger in it, it should feel lukewarm. So if it's lukewarm, it feels room temperature. You should consider it like, okay, if I put this into my colon, I'll feel like comfortable. You want it to be warm because that helps melt the impacted fecal matter, so detaches it from the colon walls. Now, if it's too hot, and you'll know when it's too hot, like just by touching it, that could potentially damage your colon, so you don't want it too hot. We usually have this trick where we boil water, and then we'll boil, like, let's say 1 liter of water with our coffee, and then we'll add another liter of like either cold or lukewarm water, and that will cool it down.
Then it's perfect.
Ice cubes too help.
Yeah, just putting your finger in and having it be like room temperature or a little bit warmer.
Yeah. Now, if it's too cold, because that happens too. So if it's too cold, it can typically lead to cramping, that cramping feeling you'll get, and it might cause you to evacuate sooner, so that's fine. Sometimes, like, you know, if you've had your enema sitting out and you just like lose track of time, you're doing emails, just feel free to warm it right back up. So that way it can be that comfortable warm temperature.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I don't even have a thermometer. I just keep it really simple. I know a lot of people don't, you know, it's like, just make it easy. Put your finger in and be like, oh, this is like a little bit warmer than room temp. This is room temp. This is perfect. If you put your finger in and it's like hot to you, wait a second, chill out, or add a little more water in there, and then you're good.
You know, and there's been times where I even like started my enema and I'm like, ooh, that's a little warm. And so what I do is I just try and flush that out, and then I just put a little cool water in there. So it's not a big deal, you guys. Like, feel for it and see. How safe are enemas?
Very safe. They date back to like, what is it, 1500 BC. They were used by the Egyptians. They've been used by kings. They're used every single day in every single hospital across the world. They're used pre-pregnancy.
I've been talking to a couple of my pregnant moms, and a lot of them shared with me, because they all know we sell enemas. They're like, yeah, like when I gave birth to my first daughter or son, the nurses offered me to do an enema because all that stuff comes out. So if you want like a more comfortable birth giving, you can do an enema. Mm-hmm. It's common, like pre and post surgical procedures, doctors will always do an enema. And I mean, I remember my dad, when he was 55, he went into the hospital to get his normal colonoscopy, which is typically they like flush you with a bunch of liquid and you clean out your colon and they see if you have any traces of colon cancer or anything that's alarming. And I remember at the time thinking like, God, like why wait till 55 to flush all that shit out?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why not start taking care of your gut now?
Yeah, totally.
I love that. And like the great thing too is that, I mean, my fiance is a doctor and he talks about how they, in the hospital, they'll do like balloon enemas and things like that. And I'm like, you know, really, you don't need to do all that. Like if you do these regularly, you can really start to cleanse the entire colon. You won't have to worry about these emergency colon, you know, enema things. So it's like, just show your body, like we're all about preventative health. You're about preventative health. Like this thing you can do to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like tune-ups for a car, you know, versus like completely ignoring a car for years and all of a sudden the thing just, I mean, that's what happens with disease, really.
Even like, you know, brushing your teeth. Like, how many times do you like brush your teeth a day, twice a day? Like, why are we not focusing on our colon health the same way we focus on our oral health? Because both are. So I totally love.
Yeah, I think it's just that it's taboo, but it is usually used in emergency situations or in really normal day-to-day, like. And so I think it's just more that it's not talked about, but it's super safe. I mean, you would have to be really irresponsible with the way that you went about it, which would probably be like scalding hot water, which nobody's really going to do anyways. I don't imagine, to really have it be anything that's not super safe. And I mean, to go into a different subject, it's also used a lot for sexual. So people who are having sex in other areas are really into doing inserts or just staying clean in that way, which also makes sense why they do it right before giving birth, because when somebody's pushing a lot, that's like everything's pushing in that area. So yeah, it's so much more common than people realize. And it's just something that wasn't talked about. And it's something that was like kind of weird, even I think initially when we were talking about going into it, but it's just that at least with all of my friends that are into preventive medicine and all of us are into health, it's like a very normal thing. It's just not normally talked about. So when we all started talking about it and we were like, gosh, this is something that we really believe in, that we do. And it's something that empowers people and makes them feel better. But it's something that's so like, again, I want to talk about that, you know, if we can just somehow like create a tribe that makes it a little bit more normal and help diminish that 80% of American percentage that's so high and people that are dealing with gut issues and feeling uncomfortable in their body, then we're happy, you know.
I love it because so many people are dealing with this issue, so I think that it's great that you're bringing light to it. I mean, it's just
same with you. I'm so happy that you're talking about it, because it is like, it's a vulnerable thing. It's not just about enemas, but like having illnesses and dealing with Candida and things that aren't sexy. It's like, but we're all dealing with them. We just don't talk about it with each other.
Well, I was shocked at when I first started opening up about my story. I mean, I didn't hear about anyone who was going through what I was going through until I started opening up about my story. And people have been coming forward that I'm like, wow, I never knew you had that issue. And so it's like when we're vulnerable and we're able to share our story, it's amazing at how open people can become and just like share their story. And then like you guys say, Forêt means like, I loved when you told me about that, I had like chills.
Thank you.
Because it's like one tree helping all the other trees in the forest and you know, grow together. And, you know, a lot of times people, you know, they get sick and it takes them getting sick to really start to connect deeper with other people, because it is an empathetic thing. And so, I mean, personally, it's made me have so much more of a different viewpoint on life and on growth and on people and on relationships and on, you know, just what's important in life. And you know, health is wealth. And if there's one thing that I could sum up in the entire conversation, like you guys are amazing first and foremost. Like,
yeah, sorry. Thank you so much.
Awesome, like sisterhood. But seriously, like taking care of yourself before you get sick, because I look back on my timeline and I'm like, there's so many things that I could have done. And obviously we can't go back and take those back, but
we don't know sometimes. Like we don't like have anything that's waking us up to what's going on until that time comes.
Yeah, and so hopefully this reaches somebody who maybe is starting to get migraines, or maybe it's reaching somebody who's starting to have issues with their body, or, you know, body image even. I've talked to a lot of women about eating disorders, which I'm no way, shape, or form like a certified therapist or anything in that regard, but just a lot of people have come forward like, hey, I've, you know, had issues with eating all the wrong foods because of emotional eating and things like that. And these are very real things. And a lot of times, you know, parasites, I know that's not sexy to talk about those, definitely not, but those can affect how we eat as well. There's studies coming out that alcoholics have parasites, and that the parasites actually override the mind and have them craving, you know, alcohol and sugars and things like that, which in turn leads to Candida. So all of this is tied together. And so really taking care of yourself, you know, taking care of your butt, getting the Rolls Royce of, butt cleanings is so important and so key. And just a question, you guys, how many can you do in one day? Like, how many is too many for one day? Because
I mean, that's like we were saying, it's really shocking. But if you went in for a colonic in the US, you've got 15 gallons of water. 15 gallons of water would be, and we should do the math, but it's a lot of Foret enemas. A Foret enema is only 2 milliliters of water. So I think it's about, what is it? So if you're doing 1 gallon, that's 4 liters. So 1 gallon of water is 2 Foret enemas. So if you went in, so that would be like, what is it? So if you're doing 15 gallons, it's 15 times. So it's like 30.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. But if you went in and paid over $100 or $170 to $100 for an actual colonic, you'd be getting the equivalent of 30 enemas in one day, which is why it makes sense to, especially when you're starting out, like a lot of people, Gerson Institute and otherwise, have people doing them once a day for a bit. If you're really dealing with some chronic gut issues, digestive issues, it's not crazy to do that every day. And then to actually supplement with some probiotics, both through your mouth and then like put a little one in the end there and don't evacuate it. So I think you could really do, it depends also how chronic your thing is. So it's really feeling it out. We're also happy to answer any questions if somebody wants to write us specifically with their issue. I kind of raised my hand a second ago when you were talking about the eating issues and the emotional eating. I went to school for nutritional psychology, and so much of what we're dealing with in our body is psychosomatic. So we do often eat our emotions, and we're getting addicted to certain foods because of Candida and other things that are overriding our mental ability to choose things that would actually be healthy for us. So I've worked with a lot of people on eating issues, which isn't really issues, but it's how you relate to the issue that's the issue, which is like a lot of times emotional based. And that we're not like digesting and assimilating certain life experiences. And so that gets stored in our body as fat or as digestive issues. So yeah, I'm so big on dealing with that. And we're really happy to answer questions if people want to send us direct messages on Instagram or if they're buying our kit on Amazon. We would love that so much, but also just sending a review and sending us messages. We send an email to everybody that buys our kit to have them as part of the Foret family.
Perfect. So where can people find you? Obviously, like, you guys are going to be on my website forever and always. You have a home there. So I do have a detox page for my followers who are used to it. It's an entire Amazon play-by-play of what I've used to help heal. And of course, Foret is on there as my go-to for Enemas.
Thank you.
These are amazing. And definitely, you guys, I'm such a believer in, you know, really giving thanks where it's due. So please write these ladies a review. If you buy the enema kit and you used it, talk about how this is different. Talk about, I'm going to try this now that you guys have like talked about it. I'm going to try this with my probiotic, but you know, really pay it forward and just write a review. I mean, it helps the small businesses. It really means a lot for people who are in business for themselves. So I really appreciate you guys, you know, taking the time to write the review for them. That means a lot to me too, because I just want to see them grow and flourish, because obviously they give such great tips and advice. And with your YouTubes coming out, I'm so excited for that. Definitely want to put those on my website as well, so people can get more ideas for, you know, different enemas and recipes. Find them on Instagram. So if you head to Instagram, you guys can see their Instagrams. They have a lot of really cool, like, sexy photos.
And cleanse tips. We're big on that. All sorts of cleanse tips.
health
It's at
tips.
Foret Cleanse is our Instagram and our Facebook. We're on Instagram a lot more than Facebook, but we try to do both.
These days, right?
What that's feeling like. And then Foret is spelled Foret, and it's actually French for forest. And like we were saying to you the other day, it just means the idea of collective growth, because we're really big on just all of us growing together and helping each other out. And I think it's like one of the most beautiful facts that the roots of all the trees really are a part of a community. So if one of the trees starts getting sick, then the nutrients from the other trees are sent in this network. That's actually where we got the idea of the World Wide Web, the name of it. But they're sent in this network, and they help heal the other tree. So that's why we named it Foret. That's why the name of our company is Foret. It's just the idea of collective growth. So it's Foret Cleanse, and that's on Instagram, Facebook.
And if you're on Amazon, just search Foret Cleanse, Foret Enema.
Yeah. And we would say, and thank you so much. We would so love the reviews. They're not the easiest things to come by when people are, I mean, even me, when I used to buy things on Amazon, I never reviewed. I mean, I would love something and I would just carry on. So now I'm really careful about, I love something. I make sure I tell them, thank you so much. I love this.
And I think why it's super important for reviews is kind of like what we were talking about earlier. For a lot of people, enemas are intimidating, like you're doing this at your home, probably alone for the first time. And so I feel those reviews really help someone who's doing this for the first time, kind of reminding them of the benefits, seeing other people's experience, seeing like, okay, this is easier than I'm making it in my head. So by leaving a review, you're really encouraging someone to take that next step, to caring more for their body, to try this radical healing alternative method.
Yeah.
We always get back what we give too. So it's a good energy exchange, and love that. So if there's one thing you could leave everyone with, like one word of advice, maybe a favorite quote of yours or something just fun, what would you leave people with? Don't think too hard on it. I always overthink things. So I'm like, just go. Like
my first thing that came up is just what I've been really working on in my life is just really getting, I think, honest with myself. And I love this. I love Taryn Toomey, this class by TT. I love the idea of really being in your body and feeling happy there. So I think for me, that's moving the body in a certain way, taking care of the body, really taking care of the body like it's your best friend, because it is. Your best friend, your body's 100%, all its energy and focus is just on loving you. And when you give it something difficult to digest, it's like, I love you anyways. I'm gonna work on this for the next 5 hours. So just really like tapping into that and being like, what rituals, what daily things make me feel really good, and just try to do at least one or two of them every single day, which, even like the smallest thing, but just try to like find a way to love yourself a little bit more, whether that's through the Foret Cleanse, which all of us would be so happy if you joined us and, supported your body and the collective by doing that, or just, I don't know, meditation's a really big thing with us, class by TT, movement, things I'm just big on just loving your body in ways that are authentic to you, so that way you can actually really be happy in your body and show up for the world.
And I think mine would be, we hear this phrase all the time, trust your gut, listen to your intuition. And, a big part of it is like, we want to trust our gut, but we need to restore our gut and get our gut to a healthy place. When our gut's out of balance, our emotions are awry. We're not thinking clearly. We're craving things that we probably normally wouldn't crave. So it all starts here. It's the epicenter. It is that like one tree. Once that gut gets sick, it throws the rest of the body off. So take care of your gut. It's where it all begins.
Totally. Trust your gut. You are your own best doctor. We are so big on that. Like, as much as possible, just to empower yourself, you are your own best doctor. Listen to your body. If your body's saying something, especially with a lot of the symptoms that we were talking about today in regards to bloating or Candida or certain allergies or intolerances, so many times you go into the normal medical precincts and they aren't able to diagnose it. And if your body's not feeling amazing. So continue on the path of healing. If you're really feeling like something's off, then probably something is. Listen to yourself. Your body knows, and your body's wise, and it's your best friend.
You ladies are so beautiful. I absolutely just love you. It was amazing.
Thank you.
I love you.
Talk forever with you guys, and seriously, viewers, go find them. and love up on them and love up on yourself and get yourself moving in the right direction, literally.
Yeah.
And we'll see you probably again. So if you guys
Yeah, we would love to come on again.
if you guys have questions on the YouTube, please drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you got something from this, whatever you want to say, definitely drop in the comments, and we'll see you on the next episode. So thank you so much for being here with us.